Hello everybody, just let you know that I didn't know I was doing this till about 2 o'clock this afternoon, so I've put together a presentation that's fresh, as you might say, and it might go horribly wrong. You'll notice as I run out of time, these slides get gradually worse and worse and worse. So I'm going to talk to you about the evolution of search. How many people in the audience, are related to design, development, front-end, back-end, promotion, marketing, or anything like that? Oh, because quite a few, cool. I was a bit worried that I was going to do a completely irrelevant talk that no one really cared about. This is good. Right, so I know what you're all thinking. You are all thinking that isn't that the guy from episode 6 of Britain's Next Great Magician? And yes, that is me dressed as Spider-Man on ITV2. Fantastic. There's my son in a full Daedric outfit that I made, and I decided to wear the stupid Spider-Man outfit. I'm Malcolm. I've been at Epiphany since the very beginning. I was the first employee. There's 12 years ago. I'm the head of technical SEO. I'm responsible really for problem solving. I'm the glue that binds dev, design, UX, SEO together. So I don't head up the SEO department because I'm not into that kind of managerial stuff. I'm a problem solver. My degree's in computer science and artificial intelligence. And one of my main roles is to help Epiphany move forward and help J-Wing move forward. That is actually me at my last season of gigs that I did, which was in 2012. I did a whole presentation dressed as a Wookiee in Wookiee. So there was no English language in the whole thing, and it was a presentation about how Google doesn't need to use anchor text to actually value links, etc. It was very sweaty, as you can imagine. So what I'm going to talk to you about is the evolution of Google from maybe 10 years ago to where it is now. I'm going to talk about what some of the key concepts that some of you are going to know what I'm on about and what I think you need to know. So hopefully everybody will be able to take something away from this. So how Google understands JavaScript, etc., etc., etc. And then we'll have any questions at the end, because hopefully there might be some, because my slides are shit. So first of all, how do we get to where we're at now? So the first thing we had with Google was all about content relevance. Google was all about looking at your web page, understanding the language that was being used, the words, simple stuff, simple kind of natural language processing to understand what you were talking about. That's Google's key thing. It works out what you are. So the answer to that from all your SEOers was write loads of great content, woo, which isn't easy, as you can imagine. But everybody said that, so everybody was doing it. Then Google introduced this thing called PageRank, which is about being able to put value on every single link that points to your website and links you pass out. So there's like this whole network of value that passes around the internet, links and nodes and whatever. And it all passes around. So you can actually put a score to every single web page, and that's what Google was, differentiated Google from the likes of Yahoo, Dogpile, all the other crap ones that we used to have. And we still have Bing. So get loads of links, that's what everybody used to say in SEO all the way up to 2016. Then we started to see Google getting better at spotting authority and trust. So it all changed to kind of no longer going over after loads of links to chase this magical PR number. It started to be about getting the right links, getting the links that mattered. So trying to get your client onto the BBC, trying to get them in the niches that you want to be, where your audience sits, trying to get those people to talk about you. So that's when we started to hear things like get better links via PR, and everybody started to introduce PR arms, and PR people started to do SEO people started to pretend they did PR, etc. You do all this sort of stuff, and your clients basically end up on page 2, and they don't move any further. You can keep doing more and more and more and more and more of it, and you get nowhere. You stay at 11th, 12th, and as you may all know, if you're on page 2 of Google, you may as well not even bother, because you get no traffic whatsoever. So it was no good. So the hard truth was that in 2016, in fairness, probably before that, SEO got noticeably harder. So we had to try and work out what had changed. Something else had been added to the mix. So I'm going to try and talk about what that is and try and help you understand how we move forward and what success looks like in 2018. Yeah, that one. Right, so we had 3 main talking topics in 2016 and 2017 as well. They were quality signals, so this is Google doing a lot more work using artificial intelligence and machine learning to actually understand what quality looks like. What is a good website? You know, we as human beings can work that out. A machine is going to be a lot harder because they've got different data sets to work with. Artificial intelligence, of course, we all love that one. And user experience was the other one as well. So again, another quality signal. How are these people treating their users? Are their users having a genuinely good experience? So what this came down to initially was good technical housekeeping. So, I don't know how many of you actually build websites, but fixing site errors, managing your crawl. So Google actually crawls your website using a pretty dumb robot, managing what Google sees, and reducing the Google bloat, so making sure it doesn't waste its time. That sort of stuff started to pay dividends. Google actually publishes a set of guidelines called the Quality Rater Guidelines. What these are, it's from that URL. I would advise anybody who creates content or even websites, etc., to read those and make sure they understand them, because it's basically Google employs 40,000 human beings to actually analyze all the changes they make and how good their result sets are that they pass back. And these people have got this cheat sheet. It's epically long, but it actually explains about what they look for. And then we had this concept of creating for your users. So this is conversion rate optimization, making sure people can get to where they need to be, doing loads of testing, split testing, user experience testing, actually bothering to check out who your audience are and build for your audience and all that and answer their questions. Don't just try and sell to them. Artificial intelligence. You'll be glad to know we're not going to talk about artificial intelligence. I could do a talk on it if you wanted, but yeah, you probably don't. What we are going to talk about is why Google actually needs artificial intelligence, because it never used to. It used to work just fine. The fact of the matter is Google has more data than ever before. It's more than any of us can ever have. There's no way I can get half the data, if even hundreds of the data that Google's already got. It's got Android, it's an ISP, it's got Google Chrome firing data to it all the time, it provides free Wi-Fi, shock horror, it's free because you give them all your data. Google Analytics, AdWords, Google Home, all the assistants, etc. Google's got tons of data that no one else has got access to. They're trying to become more human. So I actually was in Vegas last week, a conference, and I actually asked the Googlers about this whole human concept, and they confirmed that what they're trying to do with machine learning and algorithms is make the algorithm more human, actually replicate human behavior. So we've had updates. Joyce, did I see Joyce here? Joyce over there. She'll know about Panda, Penguin, Phantom, all these sorts of stuff. All these little things are all about moving away from a system that uses value metrics and just sums them all up to work out where you are, to actually trying to mimic human behavior. So what we found was that old ranking signals became a lot less relevant. So things like keywords, H1 tags, anchor text, links, and things like that started to lose their value, especially when you'd already got to page 2. Chucking more of this, you can't really chuck more H1s on, I suppose you can if you're doing HTML5. But none of this stuff started to move the needle anymore. Maybe no one has. I know Joyce will have, and I know I have. This is a ranking factor study. You'll see these all over the place. There were some recent ones done by a company called SEMrush that found out that direct traffic was the biggest correlating ranking factor. Bullshit. But these things basically look at correlations between certain things, hypotheses, and how well they correlate. Here are some correlations. This is me trying to dismiss the fact that correlation does not equal causation. I stole these, in fairness, but who could possibly make something better than these? This is comparing the cheese consumption per capita in America to how many people died from being tangled in their bed sheets. It's a pretty good correlation, those two things, isn't it, really? So this is, therefore, by proxy, surely if we eat cheese, we're more likely to die in our bed sheets. Or if we get tangled in our bed sheets, there's a good chance we've been eating cheese. Bullshit. Here's an even better one. This is the correlation between the number of people who drown by falling into a swimming pool correlated with the films that Nicolas Cage actually appeared in. And as you can see, as Nicolas Cage gets busy, more people die. I think there actually could be a genuine correlation there. So one thing we learned, obviously, is to avoid swimming pools, because this is the IMDb page for Nicolas Cage. 2017, we're all fucked. Sorry, I learned I can swear. But what I'm trying to get at is these are not significant. So these sorts of correlations that the SEO industry has been touting as significant correlations over a long period of time, in a mathematical sense, they're pathetic. They're not even dots on the radar. I mean, the scale only goes from 0.15 to minus 0.175. It's all there just to try and entice you to look at it. And it's actually not really what we should be looking at anymore. The fact is that Google's gone way beyond all these little factors that these sorts of things are obsessed with, and they're actually now using machine learning to grade websites using ways that we can't really comprehend. They're chucking more data in there. The machine itself can now learn. It can say, well, what happens if I do this? What happens if I do that? And it can do it in scale really quickly. So there's nobody at Google could actually tell you how to rank number one. They've lost control. They don't know anymore. As soon as a machine starts to do it, they apparently make, I think it's 500 changes a year now. No one can keep on top of that. No one could do it. In reality, there's probably not ranking factors anymore. There's no such thing. What we're looking for is what Google seeks in terms of an entity. So Google's looking to kind of build this giant entity model. So I'm Malcolm Slade, I'm stood on a stage, I'm holding a microphone, we're at the Belgrave. It can pair all these things together and start to build relationships between them. So there's no more of these silly little shitty ranking factors. So how do we succeed in this new world in 2018? The first thing, and this is what I've been a big advocate of for a long while, is be a brand. And I don't mean be PC World or anything like that. I mean just within your niche, try and be the #1 site. That's what Google's looking for. Google's looking for the best instances of websites with any particular niche. In 2012, I did the talk. It was actually at the same conference that I dressed up as a Wookiee in, and I wrote the talk the night before, and I think I finished the Wookiee talk at about 2 in the morning. I did a talk called The Rise of Brands in Search, where I just looked at how, over my time in SEO, brands had started to dominate and float to the top, and why that was, etc. You can see it there. There's on the Epiphany slide deck, there's SlideShare, there's quite a few more. What I noticed was that brands seemed to be getting quite a significant boost in search. I honestly thought at the time, Google had these manual people checking for brands and lifting them to the top, floating them to the top. But what I was actually seeing was the start of machine learning starting to actually be able to filter out brands and send them to the top for the right reasons. These are typical what we call SERPs, so search engine result pages. First one's for car insurance. Pretty sure everybody knows every brand on there. So this is the first page. So go compare, Money Supermarket, compare the market, confused.com, rac.co.uk, uswitch, we all know who they are. This is the next one for online bingo. Gala, Foxy Bingo, Paddy Power, Booty Bingo, never heard of them. Harry's Bingo, God knows, probably spammers. Sky Bingo and Tambula. Google's doing a really good job, especially in these high-end terms that have a lot of traffic, of giving users what they want, as safe brands. The fact is that Google's probably mimicking the entity that Google is looking for. So I'm not saying that being a brand is the answer, but doing all the things that a brand would do, which you do by becoming a brand, is the answer in the long run. Brands are human vetted. We vet brands by talking about them, by experiencing them, by having a good time, by sharing our knowledge, by all that kind of stuff, seeing their adverts, seeing their posters and billboards. People look for brands directly. This is a big one, because you can do this in Google. You can go to Google and you can type Malcolm Slade, please. Don't know what you'll find, but please. You can type for PC World. You can do this rather than typing overpriced computer. You can type PC World and go there directly. And as you do this, Google starts to learn that these are actually entities. Once you get over a certain threshold, Google will understand that you are an entity worth listening to. And if enough people do it, so they are searching for PC World, overpriced computer, Google will be able to pair those entities together and know there's a relationship between the two. Brands generally play by the rules. They didn't used to, but I think what we find is Google threw a load of penalties out recently, and brands are, well, not recently, a while back, and brands are the target for Google because Interflora is a classic one. They got penalised. What happened was Google put out a tweet saying, by the way, advertorials, links embedded in advertorials are against our guidelines. And then the following day, I always get this the wrong way and I get bollocked every time by my wife, between Valentine's Day and Mother's Day, yeah, right? Yes, nailed it. They vanished, and they ranked for every flower term you can imagine. They made a fortune within that time period because they ranked for everything to do with flowers. Google just said, no, you've gone against the guidelines, out, and took them out. They lost a fortune. And I've personally worked on clients who've lost over £1 million from being kicked out of Google for a 4-week period. Google finds these sites. Google can't find all the bad shit on the internet. It thinks it will have you believe it can, but it can't. But what it does is it finds edge cases, really important high-profile ones, outs them. The SEO industry goes mental, gives Google all the ammo they need about all the bad stuff that they've done that relates to that particular instance, all the advertorials we've ever built. And from that point onwards, Google can reverse engineer a machine learning algorithm that can use that data as a test set. But we're not talking about artificial intelligence in this talk. So we'll move on. Brands generally put their users first. Nobody's going to have a bad experience with an online brand multiple times and keep going back. At the end of the day, there are other stores that do the same thing. They may be £5 cheaper, but if they're shit, you're going to move on. You're going to pay that extra few bucks. Bucks? Still I've been in America. Here we go. The other thing about brands is, this is a presentation that a friend of mine, Jono, did, called Surviving the Machine Revolution. He did it in the middle of 2016. And the two main takeaways from this presentation are two kind of possible futures that we're heading towards. One is where all prices are the same. So in the current scenario, we've got all these different people trying to sell the products and they're all different prices. Ultimately, the buying decision normally comes down to the price. In this scenario in the future where Amazon, who don't actually want to sell you anything, believe it or not, they want to be the people who supply you with the stuff. They want to be the people who warehouse it. That happens, so everybody uses Amazon for their warehousing. Uber isn't really a taxi business. What they're actually trying to be is the delivery network, the software that you use for delivery, so anybody can be a delivery driver. Every delivery therefore is powered by Uber in the future. Probably not Uber, to be honest, let's face it. But someone like Uber. So your delivery costs are standardized, your warehousing costs are standardized, the initial cost you pay for the actual product is standardized. Everybody's prices, therefore, have no reason to be different. They're all going to be standardized. So in a world where what differentiates you from the competitors? Why should someone choose you? The other future is where we've all got these boxes that we're constantly plugged into. I mean, our phones are going to have their own personalized algorithms on them eventually. It's already starting to happen with the Pixel 2. These things make your decisions for you. So I'm wearing a pair of jeans from Asda George. I have a kid. I used to be able to afford expensive jeans. I can't anymore. These are from George. They're pretty shit. I'm expecting to wash them twice more and throw them away. But I'm wearing them nonetheless, and I've bought a few. So if I ask my personal assistant, I don't own one, my wife won't let me, but if I asked them, if I theoretically had one, I need some new jeans, can you sort me out some new jeans? It's going to go, sure I can, Malcolm. You normally buy these jeans from Asda George. You want some more of them? And I'm going to go, because I'm lazy, I'm going to go, sure, yeah, go for it. Order them, get them. Done. Job done. It's not going to go, yes, Malcolm, first for jeans is, I can't think of any jeans brands, second for jeans is meh, third is meh. It's going to just give you those instant answers. And it's at that point, it's kind of like the thing that's been happening with Facebook, where more and more of the general stuff's been taken out and you're just seeing posts from all your people you've interacted with. The same thing's going to happen in that new information, you're going to have to request it. The default will be to give you information that's safe, because this thing doesn't want to get it wrong. New information will be a case of, actually, no, I'm sick to bloody death of Asda George. I want to really go splash out, get me some jeans from Matalan. And I'm away. It's all a different world altogether. And at that point, it will start to serve me different stuff. But I've had to force it to do that. So in both those scenarios, why would someone choose you? Why would the automated system choose you? Why would someone choose to buy from you rather than somebody else with the same product, the same price, same delivery? And it all comes down to the old concept of recognition and being the preferred brand. If you're not that at the forefront of someone's mind when they come to buy something, you've lost the sale. There's no other way of getting it. So looking at the bigger picture about brands, what you need to do is you need to be getting more people thinking about you. So you want to be at the forefront of people's minds. So any of our fashion clients, so I work with a company called Pretty Little Thing. You'll see them plastering advertising everywhere, on trains, on buses, on billboards, everywhere you can imagine they're popping up. And because of that, they dominate. They do TV advertising and all that kind of stuff, which actually drives organic search traffic. Get more people talking about you, same sort of thing really. Get more people speaking about you and helping you kind of flourish as a brand. Get more people searching for you online, like we said. The more people that search for you, Google can then work out that you're an entity, etc. Get more people searching for you and what you do. So Pretty Little Thing dresses, perfect example. Get more people clicking your listings. So there's this black hole effect. We used to have this kind of click distribution curve for page 1 of SERPs, so search engine results. 15% of people will click the first result. I don't know why I've gone Australian. 10% will click the second. 10% will click the third. 7% will click the fourth. And so on and so on and so on. What we found was the sites that did really well, Google, they would be, say, third or something like that, and we were expecting they'll get a 10% click-through rate. They'll actually get like a 30% click-through rate. And next thing you know, a few weeks later, they'll be second for no reason. And then next thing you know, they'll be first for no reason. And it's because they have this black hole effect. People start to recognize them as an entity. People don't blindly go, oh, I'll click first, second, third. They go, oh, I recognize them. I'm not going to buy from Malk's Jean Shack. isn't a real site because I lost the domain. But they are going to click on, think of a jeans brand, Malcolm, come on. I'm going to go with Matalan. They are going to click on Matalan. And disproportionate proportion of clicks means that Google can track that interaction end to end. Be memorable. Proper woolly marketing bullshit, that, isn't it? But be memorable. Get people to think about you. You want to be constantly at the front of people's minds. So whenever they think, I want some jeans, I'm going to go to Matalan and get some jeans without even thinking about it. That's the ideal place you want to be. The other thing that's important is take care of your users. Users have needs beyond being sold to. We always build a lot. The old thing, I'm hoping we've moved on from it now, was to build brochure websites, where we'd build a website and it was just pictures of beds with prices. What Google actually wants is you to be the best resource for beds. So if you're building a beds website, talk about sleep, talk about mattresses, talk about headboards, talk about bed bugs, talk about, let's leave it there, talk about stuff. Yeah, it's getting a bit dark there, naughty. So cool, they don't want to just be sold to. Make sure you provide the answers that they need. So users are going to have questions. Everybody's still, us guys, is anybody older than 43? Hey. So everybody apart from us two no, actually that's the wrong way around. We're shit scared of the internet. You guys are probably fine with it. But everybody older than our age is still pretty scared of buying. Is it true? We're pretty scared of putting our details in and actually making that final purchasing decision online. And it's still a big thing. That still happens. Probably some of you are the same. You're skeptical all the time. So give people the answers to their questions. Don't give them a reason to actually kind of break that chain and go looking elsewhere and try and find information. Make sure that you can do it all on your website, all or nothing. Be their expert. That's the key thing, is be the person So when they think about jeans, they think about Matalan. They don't go on to search for jeans, they search for you. They come directly to you via some method, and they learn directly from you, and you are their expert. Personalize. So Google won't see any of this, because I'll explain in a bit, but personalize to those users. Do whatever you can to serve them, their needs as quickly as they can. And that doesn't always involve having the same website for everyone. Money Supermarket did a really horrible job once of building these really long-form pages that were just epic. If you had a question, they would answer it on that page somewhere, but Google can't send you to the middle of the page for your answer. It can only drop you at the top. So users are having to go, oh my God, where the hell is the answer? You get halfway through, and they're gone. They're bored by then. If they've not found the answer within the first 10 seconds, to be honest, 5 seconds, they've clicked the back button and moved on. People are very fickle. Makes the experience easy. So like I say, let them find what they want. Let them make sure that everything's really slick. Make it amazing. Be as best as you possibly can. And ultimately make it fast, because everybody's now on mobile devices. Quick. We haven't got time. I finished pooing. I haven't got time to look for jeans. I need to move on. Take care of Google, really important, because does anybody actually rely on Google for revenue, for traffic, anything like that? Yeah, or have clients that potentially do? Someone definitely does. Joyce does. People like that. But Google's really important, and Google's not going anywhere, because we've all looked at Bing. It is not catching up. That is shocking. But Google still struggles. There's lots of things Google still struggles with. The important one, because we've got some front-end devs here, Google still struggles with JavaScript. We all love JavaScript, or you guys seem to. But Google still struggles with it. Google uses two systems. It uses what's called the indexer, and it uses the crawler, which is called Googlebot. So this is a dumb system that passes around the internet, just pulling back just raw HTML, if I'm honest, and then does some basic analysis on it, decides whether you're basically relevant, and then from that point onwards, it makes a decision whether to pass you to the indexer or not, and the indexer will then pass the web page. But at the stage of the Googlebot hitting your website, it won't pass any JavaScript. It'll just look at the raw HTML markup. When eventually it gets to the indexer, and this is the problem, Google can render most JavaScript, but it's very slow at doing so, because it has to then be passed to a secondary system called Caffeine, which is the indexer, which then looks at the page and renders it. And then if that finds some stuff on there, because most JavaScript pages, if you look at them just as source code, they're actually blank without inspecting the DOM. It then finds their stuff, sends them back to the crawler and goes, hey, crawler, look at all these new pages. And it goes, nah, there's nothing there, mate. Have a look yourself when you've got time. And you go, all right, I will do. 3 days later, it looks, oh, more stuff. And it takes forever to Google to find your content and index your website and refresh it and constantly re-looking at it and going over the same problem over and over again. The things to remember is that Google renders using Chrome 41. I think we're on Chrome, I want to say 66, 67, something like that now. Google's using a very old version of Chrome, so it's not very good with PWAs. It's not very good with progressive web apps. It's not very good with things like sockets and stuff like that. It can't handle all that. It's very basic. Bing, does anybody really care? But Bing, Yandex, Baidu, so Yandex is Russia's massive search engine, blows Google out the water. Baidu is China's. They don't pass any JavaScript at all. They're not JavaScript enabled yet. They may eventually be, or they may just not bother and just give up altogether. But they don't pass any JavaScript. So if you're reliant on traffic from Bing, and you've got a JavaScript website, you're screwed, basically. The answers, or what Google touts as the answers, and these are probably the best answers at the moment, are to use things called isomorphic JavaScript. So anybody experimented with isomorphic JavaScript? Just me, and even I've only done it for a day. But it's basically the ability to have server-side and client-side running in unison. So server-side stuff happens when you first hit the website. From that point onwards, it works like normal JavaScript. So when Google, which never actually does any interactions apart from one web page at a time, it only ever sees server stuff pulled from the server as HTML. So it doesn't actually get the JavaScript stuff. You can pre-render. So this is where you actually take a website and you pre-render out a static form of it, and you push that out to your users rather than actual JavaScript. And you can start to use progressive web apps. They're still a bit early, so there's still some dodgy things going on them. But there are a lot of advantages, such as service workers and things which we're not going to get into on this talk, because we'll be here all night. Google doesn't scroll. So if you've got a massively long web page, Google will not see the bottom of it. It doesn't scroll down your page. If you're doing lazy loading, Google will, well, it's not technically true. I've found ways of actually making it. But most of the time, Google will not actually see those products that are being loaded on further down the web page, et cetera, et cetera. Google doesn't click. If you've got stuff hidden behind a button and stuff like that, if it's in the actual DOM, then Google will see it, but it will heavily devalue it because it's classing it as, it's basically saying if you don't want to show your users it when they first land on your web page, it's not going to be as valuable as the stuff you do. So they don't click and that kind of stuff. Google doesn't cookie, so it won't set cookies, etc. So any sort of stuff you're doing with cookie retargeting and stuff like that, in theory, Google should ignore all that because it won't see any of it. Google rates above the fold content really highly. What I mean by this is that stuff you see on the screen, and probably a little bit more if I'm honest. I don't think they use just the standard viewport. I think they go a bit deeper, is what Google focuses on. So the stuff you've got at the bottom of your page, that SEO text, Google really doesn't care about. It's about what's available to users straight away at the start. It loves easy to understand information. I mean, the more you can do to make the job easy for Google, the more it loves your website. We've seen it happen time and time again. It loves structured markup. So I know there was a talk on structured markup many years ago, I think about 5 years ago, at one of these dudes, well, the website says it was. I didn't even know this do existed until 2 o'clock, like I say. But I did my research. Structured markup. This is basically in your source code, you mark up certain things like this is an entity, this is an organization, this is a blog post, this is a picture, etc., etc., etc. And Google will use that to actually understand what your website is made of, what entities you're talking about, what organization you are, and how it all fits together. Google hates intrusive pop-ups. So it's not saying that pop-ups are bad, but the ones that cover the whole page, you can't get rid of, especially on mobile, which I'll explain in a minute, Google hates them. They will be your downfall, because they really do hate them. It hates duplication, because although it's massive, it's a finite resource, and the internet is always going to be bigger. Even while we've been here, people have probably been tweeting, whatever. The internet's constantly growing. You need to control, we have a tag called the canonical tag, which you can use to actually tell Google which is the preferred version of a document. So if you've got 3 different versions, you can put that on and say, this is the one we want you to focus the attention on. You can use things like hreflang tags to tell Google which are kind of different internationalized versions of the same content. So if you've got an Irish-English version of a web page as well as an English-English, one's euros, obviously one's pounds, and that's the only difference. They're pretty much duplicates, but you can use these tags to say, we know. But if it's an Irish person, show them this page. If it's an English person, show them this page. Google loves mobile first. So as we now know, most sites now get over 50% of their traffic from mobile, especially if it's a tech site. All manual quality reviews, and this has been, I found this out a few days ago, it was a shock to me, are done on a Nexus 5. They don't sit at a laptop and look at your website. They use a Nexus 5 device to actually see what your website's like, how it treats its users, whether or not the results are right, whether it's any good, which I thought was quite interesting. Google's moving to a thing called a mobile-first index. At the minute, what it does is it looks at your desktop website and it analyzes that and works out what you're about, how powerful you are, what you should rank for, etc. And then it will go to your mobile site and see how mobile-friendly it is, and that's how your mobile rankings are generated. What they're going to switch to is looking purely at your mobile website. So if you've got a website which happens a lot, where your mobile site is basically a bare-bones shell of your desktop website, and users who come onto your mobile site can't do all the stuff they can do on the desktop site, you're going to be screwed. That's the biggest problem they're facing at the minute, is all these sites that don't have a mobile experience that's up to scratch. How many people actually build, and this is honestly, I mean, I've not met many, build mobile first? One, and that's probably because I've hit him with a stick enough to make it stick. But so mobile first is where you actually build for a mobile device and then use media queries, etc., and progressive enhancement to then facilitate desktop viewing. And that's the way we should be building websites, because everybody's looking at them on mobiles now, or the majority of people are. Design mobile first. So this is a sticky one. This is where people design on their nice shiny Mac on giant fonts, etc., and whatever, and then try and just go into a mobile screen. You're better off doing it the mobile first and then seeing what it will look like as it scales up. Build mobile first, like I just said. The last thing then is everyone loves speed. Fast, 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 which I've probably not been. I don't know. At present, slow websites are penalised. There's not like a bonus for having a fast website, but if you've got a slow website and it's slower than your competitors or an outlier, you will get penalised for it and you will suffer. So make your websites fast as you possibly can. I asked Google this a few days ago, and they said that they're going to make this more of a factor when they switch to mobile first, because obviously speed is even more important for mobile, and lots of people have neglected mobile speed. So they're going to make it more of a problem. So we're going to have faster sites for mobile users. If you are going to do it, benchmark using fast 3G, because Google still says that 70% of the internet will be using speed slower than 3G by 2020. I presume they mean my nan, because they can't really work out. But if that's your audience, people who are in the middle of nowhere who haven't got a good internet speed, you need to think about this stuff. You ideally want a 5-second load, faster if you can. Yeah, I know, it's harsh, isn't it? This is a tool you can use to actually see how Google they're knocking out a better one, because again, I talked to them about it. You can use this to actually see how your site performs in a mobile environment, how long it takes to load, etc., etc. It produces reports like this. I mean, even our own bloody website can't load in under 11 seconds. I blame him. It's not my fault. I just told them what to do. If they didn't implement it correctly, it's their fault. Legacy, my arse. And there's a new technology. Well, I say new technology, it's not that new, but it's starting to gain a lot of traction recently, because even Bing have started to use it. No one cares, but yeah, they have. And it's called AMP, so it's accelerated mobile pages. So if you can't make your mobile site quick, you can code them up, and you can code up another version of your website using this specific markup. It's quite good. AMP is a weird one, because Google caches it, so you actually get served the web pages from Google's cache rather than your server. So it's a completely different way of thinking about things. I'm not a big fan, but I don't think it's going to disappear. So if you can't make your website fast on mobile, it's a good thing to use. But what it does do is it shows you good principles for mobile design. So AMP specification is a very reduced set of JavaScript. So you can't do all the spinny, whirly stuff that everybody seems to think everyone loves, but no one really does. So you can't do any of that. So you have to be forced to be tight with your actual kind of coding. So it's a good way of doing things. I've probably offended hundreds of people, well, 50 people in this audience, but I apologize in advance. And that's it. That's the end. We're over. We're done. I have no idea how long that took.